In a world where AI can write your posts, automate your emails, and schedule your outreach, trust has never been harder to build or more valuable. But what if the real competitive advantage today isn't better technology, it's better relationships? Welcome to the Mike Method. My guest today is Janice Porter, entrepreneur, trainer, and one of the most thoughtful voices in the world of relationship-driven networking. After beginning her career as a teacher and corporate trainer, Janice discovered her true calling, helping business owners grow their companies by building authentic, lasting relationships that lead to trust, referrals, and real opportunities. Through her coaching and training, she's helped countless professionals move beyond transactional networking and instead create meaningful connections that drive long-term success. In our conversation, we explore the growing erosion of trust in a digital-first world and why so many people hide behind emails, posts, and automated outreach instead of real human connection. Janice shares her powerful real framework: refresh, engage, appreciate, and leverage. A simply but deeply practical approach to staying connected with your network in a way that actually builds trust. We also dive into the small gestures that make a big difference, from handwritten cards and thoughtful gifts to video messages and simple acts of paying attention. Along the way, we talk about what most people misunderstand about networking, how curiosity beats selling every time, and why the strongest business opportunities come not from meeting new people, but from reconnecting with the ones already in your life. If you've ever wondered how to build deeper relationships, generate more referrals, and stand out in a world that feels increasingly impersonal, this episode is full of practical ideas you can start using immediately. Let's dive in. Janice, thanks for being on the podcast today.
Oh, my pleasure. I'm very excited, Mike. This is like flying with no seatbelt or something. I don't know.
Right?
Yeah, I love it.
Because it's a conversation, it's not an interview.
That's
And
right.
I think we need a launching off point. And I've been thinking a lot about, because your ebook's fantastic, and I've been thinking a lot about your real model and just what's going on right now in the state of the world relative to this sort of depersonalization of writing, of posting, of what's AI, what's real, what's not, of social media versus real human connection. And I'd love to talk about the erosion of trust. So tell me what your thoughts are about the erosion of trust in this current world we're living in.
It's everywhere, really. I mean, you don't know everything that you see, particularly online. Even, believe it or not, I also think even on television, on the news channels, we're guided by opinion now more than the facts on the news stations in particular. And I just think we don't know what's real anymore. And I know for me, it sits heavy with me. I'm like, really, this isn't actually real. I got sucked in again, that kind of thing. And I think that a lot of what happens today in my experience in business is people hide. They hide behind their emails. They hide behind, I don't know, everything, the posts. Nobody talks to anybody. And so that trust level it's not quickly built unless I do it, is the way I say with people, like somebody takes the bull by the horns.
And so where do we start? Like when you think about trust and you think about the opposite of what we've just described as the world we're living in now, how do we start to build trust? I know a lot of people have an allergic reaction to the word networking, right? They're like, oh, I don't want to go to a networking event, or I don't want to hand out business cards. And I know that's not your belief about how the world should work. From a connection standpoint, like where do you start? Like how do you even start to think about building trust?
Well, I think, everybody's hungry to make their business be successful and to move forward in that regard. But then the focus is on them. And I think too many people make the focus be them and not the other person. And I just had a client reach out today, a LinkedIn client, and she said, tell me what you think of this post, which was already up. So I'm doing it to begin with, right? To my mind, it was all sales. And people don't want that on LinkedIn. They don't want you to sell them every time you put up a post, or, if you're going to do it, build to it, right? So that, and I find that, I don't know, I think you probably would do this. I don't know. I'm going to ask you to give me your opinion on this.
Yeah.
But sometimes when I meet somebody, I'll have an impulse to call them, an actual telephone call, and nobody answers their phone anymore. But if they do, I'm like, wow, this could be, my people. So I will always, if they answer, say, well, that was a surprise. Thank you so much for answering. My name is, do you have a minute? And if not, I understand.
Right.
But I don't do it all the time. But I think that type of output, that kind of outreach can mean something. Do you ever pick up the phone for?
I don't. It's
Okay.
funny. Like I live my life on Zoom all day long or
You,
Teams,
yeah,
right? That's
yeah,
because most of the people I chat with are kind of spread out around North
yeah.
America. So I can't just go for coffee with. I'd love to
No,
just go for coffee, but I can't.
but
And
this is the same. This is a virtual,
yeah,
and
it is.
it
Yeah,
can mean the same. It
yeah.
can.
The thing I do actually is I send video notes.
I love that. Love
So
that.
I'd record myself sending a video note to people to check in with them to see how they're doing. If it's a special occasion, like their anniversary or
Yep.
birthday, I'll do a video note. Sometimes I sing them happy birthday depending on what I'm
Nice.
feeling like that day. And it's funny because the response I get is nobody ever sends me a video note. They're like, my sister or brother sends me or my mom sends me audio notes, but no one's ever sent me a video note. And some
Yeah.
people are like, I didn't even know you could do that.
And I do that. I teach my clients on LinkedIn to do that because it
Yeah,
makes them stand out from the crowd. And I
right.
once sent a LinkedIn video message to a client, and he went nuts. He said, "How did you do that?" He said, "This is amazing." And then now he
Yeah,
does it all the time because for
yeah,
him it was a perfect fit, and it
yeah.
isn't for everybody. And I have to admit, it's not always for me because my hair might not look good or whatever. I have those issues too. But it is certainly a good thing. However, so I'm involved with I'm a consultant with a company that is greeting cards and gifts. And I've been with them for like 16 years. It used to be, and it's an online system and it sends real cards and gifts in the mail. But just this past year, they introduced digital cards as well. So you go into your system, you can choose a card or create your own, put images on it, whatever. And you can choose, do I want to send this in the mail or snail mail, or do I want to just instantly put it into a message or a text or an email or whatever, and it gets there instantly. And of course, when it first came out, I started to use it to see how I felt about it, but it doesn't have the same impact for me as a card in the mail. The card in the mail, we're in Canada, it takes longer. Sometimes it's an American company. It leaves the company the same day, within 24 hours, and it's couriered into Canada and put in Canada Post. So then we're dealing with Canada Post, which is
Right.
sometimes okay and sometimes not. However, that card, that actual real card that comes in the mail, takes somebody from their head to their heart so
Mhm,
much faster than that digital thing, even though that was instant.
mhm.
So I've kind of fallen off them, but that's the thing that I think it's those little things that make the difference. And you were nodding your head as well at the same thing, that right?
Yeah, so with strategic planning clients that we've had, I've actually taken a team photo of their strategy and then I've mailed them a card. And the front of the card is actually the picture
Yeah.
of them. And the crazy thing is, I will go into their office 6 months later and the card is still up because it's a photo, right? So they have it up like they would have any other photo of
Yeah.
their team with the
Yeah.
strategic planning, and the note from me is on the inside of that
Yeah.
card. And the first time it happened, I thought, well, that's weird. Like the person kept the card for this long, and then it just kept happening. Like every time I sent those cards, I would find them sitting on credenzas or on somebody's bookshelf in their office.
Well, the secret of that is that there are pictures on it.
Right,
Yeah. Right. And
not my
as long
logo.
as their picture is on it on the front, they'll never throw it away. I've had people 5 years later tell me, your card is still sitting on my desk because there are
Yeah,
pictures on the front. And I'm
yeah.
celebrating them. So absolutely. It's so funny. The human, condition, whatever.
I learned this trick a long time ago, and I forget who taught me this, but it was such a great thing, and I've always remembered it. And it's if you've made a mistake and you're trying to apologize, send something that you can consume or dies. So, like
Yeah.
don't send a plant that's going to last forever.
They'll
Send
always remember. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't, send a bottle of wine or scotch or I don't know, something consumable. Send a gift basket they're going to eat
Yeah.
because it's gone and they'll forget about it. But if it's to celebrate something, send something indelible that they're going to put up in their office. Like send a plant that doesn't die. Send a cactus. It lasts
Yeah.
forever,
Yeah.
right? Like
Yeah.
send them something cool. I remember being in a meeting with a client and she remarked on the video, she's like, "Oh, is that an orchid behind you?" And I had a friend had sent me an orchid and it was on the credenza behind here. And I said, "Yeah, are you a big fan of orchids?" And she said, "Yeah, I love orchids. I haven't had an orchid in ages." And about a month later, we were going out for dinner with the client and I showed up with the most gorgeous, giant
Orchid.
orchid for her and dropped it on the table. And she's like, "What's that for?" I'm like, "Well, remember like a month ago we were talking and you said you loved orchids. Well, I was walking by the flower shop on the way here and I saw this orchid and it was gorgeous. So I bought it and brought it to dinner." And she's like, "And I can't believe you remembered that, like
Yeah.
such a brief part of our conversation. And two, this is so awesome. I'm putting this up on my desk in my office and I know how to take care of this so it doesn't die." So, multiple times I'd be on calls with her and the orchid would be in the background and she'd say, "Look, see, I
Yeah.
kept it alive." Right. And so
Fantastic.
I've always learned that lesson, or I learned that lesson a long time ago in terms of gift giving, whether it's an apology or whether it's
Yeah,
a
that's a good
celebration.
one. So I'm curious, did your mom ever teach you that you should always say thank you or send a thank you note to grandma or anything like that when you were little? Or did it?
My parents would always do that, like they but it's interesting. I know people that are like, they're so good at that, like they are so good at sending the personalized thank you notes. And what I recognize, so I'm not as good as I wish I was at this. One of the barriers I realized one day was you have to have the card. So then I'm like, well, okay, I can just go to the store and buy a 10 pack of thank you cards. Now I have no excuse because the card's right there. It's not like, oh, I got to go to the store. I got to buy a thank you card. I'll do it tomorrow. They're right there in my desk. So I can just grab a thank you card and send it off at any moment
Or
to
you
somebody.
do it online, like, and
Yeah. Or
do
do
a
it
card
online.
gift,
And
right?
yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
the thing that I know you mentioned the personalized, and some people will fight me and say it has to be, in your fountain pen, which I'm holding, and it has to be in your own writing. And I got over that very quickly because I used to, this is 16 years ago, I used to buy cards all the time. Well, they're
Yeah.
really expensive, to be
Sure.
honest now, really
Yeah.
expensive. But I'd have a box full of cards, and then in case something happened, so I could choose one. I could never find the right one in my box, right, for the right occasion. And the other
Yeah.
thing was that I'd run out of stamps, or I
Yeah.
didn't have stamps. And sorry, my daughter just called, and
That's okay.
yeah. And so they wouldn't get sent, or it'd be pouring with rain and it would sit on my car seat because I didn't want to get out and mail it. So once I started using this system, this online system that sends real cards in the mail, I have my own signatures in it. I have my own handwriting font. But what was more important was my message, and that I could put photos in it, which also personalizes it as well. And I could also, if it was business related, I can brand the back with my branding or do whatever I want on the back, not have the Hallmark thing on the back, right? It was my branding. But I got over that because it just became more important that the message did the work for me. Anyway, I don't lost the point of what I was going to say there because my daughter's home. But anyway, doesn't matter.
Well, I think that, what I took from that is that it's the thought that counts
Yeah.
and it doesn't have to be in your own handwriting.
Yeah.
The fact is you stand out by simply sending the card because no
Who
one's
does it? Yeah.
doing it, right?
Yeah.
I learned a really cool trick from Harvey McKay that
Yeah.
I started putting into place. My God, I'm aged myself here 30 years ago.
Yes.
And the trick was that when he was traveling, he would bring magazines with him and he would read through the magazines. And if he saw an article that he really liked, he would rip it out and then he would write on a from the desk of
Yeah.
note to somebody to say, "Hey, I saw this article. I really enjoyed it. I thought you might like a copy." And then he started realizing that if it was an industry periodical, he could send it to multiple people. So he would get his assistant to photocopy the article and then he would put it, and then he would just say, "Hey, send it to these people."
Yes.
And he would send that article out. But once we got into the digital age, I kind of, I read lots of things all the time. Every time I read something, an article, a blog post, watch a TED talk, whatever it is, I think about who in my life would benefit or find value in this thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then I send them a text message and I just link the thing to it. And I'm like, I was reading this and it made me think of you. And I know you love snowmobiling, or I know you love kite surfing. This is so cool. It's new technology. And I flip it over to them. And it's such an effortless thing to do because it takes seconds to send the text. And all I need to do is be thoughtful and empathetic about the people I know in my life that would
and expect nothing in return.
No, not at all. Like they like it. That's great. And I'll fire it off. We did a compilation episode for the podcast in December. And so it had 7 different podcast highlights all put into one themed episode, which was a year an episode. And it was sitting at my daughter's volleyball practice. And I thought to myself, all the people that are in it, like they're going to know Katie's going to send them a note. The producer will send them a note. But you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to send them a note because I just finished listening to it. So I forwarded an email or a text message to each of them and said, thank you again for doing the podcast with me this year, because it was such a great podcast, but we found a really great clip from it, and we've included it in our year-end compilation. So I sent it to the 7 people that were in it, and Janice, the responses that I got, some of them almost brought me to tears, because what I didn't know is what happened after the podcast. So what the podcast created for them, what the podcast enabled them to do. Some of them had never been on a podcast before. And so it opened them up to doing other podcasts. And the amount of gratitude that I got back was immeasurable. And I never expected that. I just wanted to let them know, hey, you're on the episode. If you want to listen to it, it's a great episode and you're highlighted. Yeah. I didn't expect to get back these such heartwarming messages in response from every person.
That's really very special. We teach that all the time with the company that I'm affiliated with, in terms of send out to give, not to get.
Yeah.
Don't expect anything in return. What you send out comes back tenfold, all of that good stuff. And to most of all, act on your promptings, which is what you do very well. And that's what you're doing. You're acting on your promptings with nothing expected, because it sends the kindness out into the world too, which is what we need today, which is all about trust as well, right? So it all comes together that way. When we were talking before we went on air, I remembered a story that I thought might be fun to share.
Yeah, please.
The same kind of thing that you were talking about. It was, if I can remember it correctly, it's a real story that somebody in our company had experienced, but it was then put out in the book that the owner of the company shared and had written. And the story was about this realtor, and he was, I don't know, he ran into this guy that he knew. It's in the States, and in not a huge city, but it's in the States. And this guy ran into this old friend of his that was there with his son, and they were talking, and it was the son's birthday, happened to be. And so after they'd been talking, this guy went home and he sent the kid some brownies for his birthday. And then about 2 weeks later, the dad, called the realtor and said, hey, that was a very nice gesture that you made. My son was really thrilled. That's really great. He said, listen, I'm thinking about selling my house. He said, would you come over and give me what is it called? An evaluation. Great. Yeah. And he said, sure. And actually he didn't say anything about the brownies. It was a bit later, and he said, come over, do the house. And then when he went over and he's showing him the house, he said, hey, how come you picked me? What about the realtor that sold you the house? And he said, it's because you sent the brownies. And the woman that had been the realtor was nowhere to be seen, right? She sold the house. And there's so many stories like that about not taking care of people, not being top of mind when it's least expected. And those are the things that make connection and caring and all of that good stuff feel good, right? Relationships.
I'd love to walk through your real model.
I knew you were going to say that. I knew you were
going to say that. I know I'm putting you on the spot.
You are, because I haven't done anything with it for like a while.
It's okay. Yeah. So I know I'm putting you on the spot by asking you about it. So what I'd love to do is just I'd love for you, first of all, to just walk through the background behind it. Like when did you come up with the framework? So just for the listeners, when I say the real model, it's refresh, engage, appreciate, and leverage. And when my first thought was, this is really easy to remember. I love the acronym because you want people to be real and you want to build trust in a real, authentic way. And so I'd love to understand more, what is refresh, what is engage, what is appreciate, and what is leverage. So that for anybody that's listening to this is saying, yeah, I love what we were talking about so far on the podcast, but like, how do I do this on a regular basis?
When I first put this together, it was kind of for me to refresh what I was talking about as well, really. And for me, I do LinkedIn consulting and training, and as part of my overall relationship marketing strategy piece. One of the first things I feel that people need to do who are in business is they need to have an up-to-date, fully optimized LinkedIn profile,
Got it.
especially, by the way, today. I don't know how much, well, you probably are quite up on it, but you may have heard of the new 360 brew, which is the new algorithm that LinkedIn is using.
Okay.
Okay, so
No, I
it's
haven't heard of it.
AI connected, right?
Got it.
And so it's nothing to get too hung up about for the average person, but what it is showing is that the way that LinkedIn looks at what your content is and who they should send it to and so on is really now connected to your profile. It wasn't so much before. It was
Okay.
just how, the kind of stuff that you write and it didn't really reflect from your profile, but they look at that now. So when was the last time they updated their profile? When was the last time they refreshed their picture?
Mm-hmm.
All of that good stuff that first impressions are seen from. And so that's really what refresh started out to be for me. Is there anything else on that part that you?
No, I just think it's fascinating. Like, I think, one of the things that I loved is one, keeping it current, but two, revisiting old connections and relationships.
Well,
Like,
that's the engaged piece too. Well, right. Yeah. So that was the other piece. That's right. Where instead of always being in a hurry to meet new people,
right,
when was the last time you talked to the people you're already connected to?
right,
Yeah. And so I always suggest, especially, I mean, it doesn't matter whether you have 100 or 10,000 connections, really. There was on LinkedIn where there was a lot of what they called the lions, right? What did that stand for? A lion it was someone that just accepted from everybody,
yes,
right? LinkedIn, some open networker, LinkedIn open networker. Yeah, lion. So
Lion.
they just connected with everybody, right? But
Yeah,
it's not that way anymore. And,
no,
anyway, so they ended up with all these connections. They had no idea who they were.
yes,
So it's a good idea to export your connections because they belong to LinkedIn. And so
right,
you need to get them off there so you at least have them. I had a fellow the other day call me. He can't get into his profile. He's got like, I don't know, 1,500 connections, not
yeah,
oodles, but still that was important to him and he can't get in. They won't let him in. And so we're
right,
trying to deal with it. But if he had exported them, at least he'd know how to get hold of these people. Right?
hmm,
So, but I do talk about, maybe every week, pick 5 people, just reconnect with them. The ones
right,
that you think are worth reconnecting with, of course,
sure,
but yeah, so that's important as well. There's so many people out there to talk to. When COVID happened, I think is when I really jumped in full time on LinkedIn. And I was so glad in a way that it helped. It made the world smaller in the sense that, you mentioned that you have international clients and I do too. And it's so fun, meet people from everywhere.
I love it. And I think what I love about your refresh piece is that back to trust, where we started this
Mhm.
conversation, if you're refreshing your existing connections, your ability, you either already have trust or your ability to get back to a very trusted place is so much easier than going to meet somebody brand new.
Well, let me give you another example of
Yeah.
that, which actually isn't the same model in a way because I didn't know this person. However, I was connected to this person. One of those ones, right, that I must have said yes. So somebody wished me happy birthday on
Yeah.
LinkedIn in my notifications. And I looked at this person and I noticed we were first degree connected. And I thought, oh, who is this? So I went
Right.
to his profile and he's in Vancouver, as a matter of fact. And I looked at his profile and I went, we've been connected since 2012. Didn't know him from Adam. And he was a business owner in the city. He had a couple of businesses. And I thought, and he needed help with his LinkedIn. He didn't know it, but he needed help with his LinkedIn, right? So I sent him a message and I said, a LinkedIn message, because we're connected, so I could do that. And I said, thank you so much for the birthday wishes. I said, you may not, I don't know if you know this, but we've actually been connected since 2012. And to be honest, I don't think we've ever met. Would you be open to having a conversation and making the connection real? And he sent me a message back and said, sure. So we set up a Zoom call, we had a
Great.
chat, and he
Yeah.
became a client.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Right.
Because we had a conversation and I guess he liked me and I asked him some questions and yeah, so we worked together for a bit. So you never know.
This I love the next piece of this here of engaging, which is commenting and messaging and interacting with the people that you know regularly, and also if you're meeting somebody new, not starting a conversation with the intent to sell. because everybody hates that when you're on the other side of it, right?
Yeah, of course. When it's you, it's different. But when
Yeah, for sure.
exactly, yeah, that's where the word curiosity always comes in for me. So you need
Yeah.
to be curious about the other person, and you need to make them feel comfortable.
Yes.
And that's the whole premise for me of engaging with people, but now engaging in person or engaging, like you mentioned how everyone hates networking.
Yeah.
Well, so many people still think networking is going to a meeting and handing out your business cards and going home and saying, well, I didn't get any business from there, so I'm not going back again.
Right.
Right. But that's not what it's about, right? There's so many strategies around it. And it's the same online. You can, like, here's a networking strategy on LinkedIn. So I've just met you, but now we're first level connected on LinkedIn. So I could go and look at your first level connections, my second level connections, and I could say, wow, I'm going to pick out 10 people that I think might be really interesting to meet. And I would love to meet them for whatever reason. I look at their profile, whatever. So now I come to you and I say, hey, Mike, I've identified these people that you're connected to. And I'll even give you a link to this search that I did so you can bring them up. And I'll say, how do you feel about introducing me just for virtually whatever? Because a warm lead is better than not, right? If you don't know them, it's okay. Can I mention your name? Can I name drop just if I reach out to them? So that brings me more connected to you. I also say, hey, feel free to do the same thing.
Right.
With
Backwards.
me, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's a way of networking on LinkedIn that could benefit both people. You got to do a little bit of work to do it, but that makes sense, right?
Oh, I love it. I love it. And, the interesting thing is, like, when I make an introduction for somebody or somebody asks for an introduction, my thought is, does it benefit both parties? And if the answer is yes, then I'm going to make the introduction, because I know then that both people, well, one, I usually will know both people and trust and respect them. And then two, I'm like, I don't know what's going to come of this, but I know you're both quality people. So it's worth the two of you meeting. And then it makes me feel good that I was able to connect two good people together.
I just had that happen today where I got an email from this woman that had just been on my podcast. And when she was on my podcast, I'd said to her, you need to meet this gentleman that was on my podcast. He's in England. You guys have so much in common. Same, they're both MBA or doctors of this and emotional coach, EQ. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And she messaged me and said she had a great chat with him. And she said, you were so right. We had so much in common, blah, blah, blah. And it felt so good. Mm-hmm. But I will say this, and tell me your opinion on this. I got to know her quickly. I didn't know her that well when I interviewed her, and the same with him, but I knew him first. And so I did go back and say to him, hey, I have this person I'd like to introduce you to. Are you open to it? Before I did it.
I only will make an introduction if I do that first. And I'm very clear with people who want to introduce me to people that they ask for my permission first, because I get a lot of those every single month. I don't have the time to respond to all of them. And so when somebody says, can you introduce me to this person? I'm like, I will ask for their permission first, and I'll send them a note. I'll send them a LinkedIn profile. Here's why I want to introduce you, but I need your permission first. Yeah. And they'll say yes. And I'm like, great, perfect. I'll make it happen. Or they might say no, and they'll give a reason. And I'm like, that's great too. And then I feel like I've been very respectful of that person's time. Most people thank me for asking for the permission first, for the introduction and the thoughtfulness of doing that versus just randomly making the introduction without
because it's a very invasive thing when you haven't.
You've created like a social contract, which for somebody that didn't ask for that social contract, right? Like you've said, I'm introducing the two of you, and now I can't get out of this now because I have to say yes. Otherwise, I'm making my friend feel bad. I'm, this person who's never met me before, I'm saying, no, I don't want to meet you. And it just creates this awkward situation. And even if it's so much as just having to pass emails back and forth, it's still added another task into my world. And I've got enough tasks in my world right now. So.
But it's also, I think, about protecting your network.
Yeah.
Right? As well.
Fair. Yeah.
Especially if this person that's asking, like, I'm going to ask you and you don't know me that well, maybe you don't want to do it. You've got to definitely check with the people that are in your trusted network already. And I think that's important. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's totally fair. So let's talk. So we've done the R and the
Yep.
E. So we've done refresh and engage. Let's talk about expression of gratitude and recognition. So let's talk about appreciate. I mean, you and I did talk
Yes,
about,
we did.
notes and messages and birthdays and thanking people for introductions and support as being sort of like a thing that we just do. I'm curious, like, what are some of the fun small gestures that you've seen people do that are really easy to implement, that are just sort of like effortless to do, but seem to carry a lot of weight for the person who receives it?
Can't think off the top of my head at the moment. I do think that calling people
Yeah.
is one of them because it's not the norm anymore, and I think that's important. Just really what you talked about before we were on air is about paying attention to what people say so that you surprise them with something that you actually paid attention to, that you listened to, you noticed. You didn't know them before that first call and you saw it's their birthday next week or whatever, and you surprise them by just even, for me, I don't want it to be too personal if it's brand new. So I might do it on LinkedIn, or if it's, or a digital card, just to say, I saw it was your birthday coming up. So, whatever. But I'm trying to think. There's
I
like,
can, I can throw out an example.
go for it. Cause
One
you've
that
got a
we've
lot.
done here. Yeah, it's funny. So we have a gifting culture at Virtus, and our gifting culture is that if you find out about something, you just organize the gift. You don't have to ask for permission. You don't have
Nice.
to like clear it. You just do it.
Yeah.
And so one of the times it was that somebody was getting married, and we knew that they were going on a honeymoon to a place called Tofino, which is as west as you can go in North America until you hit Hawaii, basically. Japan is next, and it was the client just brought it up that they were going to be away, so they couldn't meet in the next couple of weeks because they're going to be on their honeymoon. And so the team member that from my team that was on there said, "Oh, where are you going for your honeymoon?" And
Yeah.
she said, "Oh, we're going to the Long Beach Lodge
Oh,
in
nice. Yeah.
Tofino. It's a great spot." And she's like, "Oh, that's so great. Well, how wonderful! That we'll have such a great time, and we'll talk when you get back." And then she ended the call. She picked up the phone. She called the Long Beach Lodge and she said, "I'd like to arrange a bottle of champagne.
Yeah.
And do you do chocolate strawberries?" And they're like, "Absolutely, we can do chocolate strawberries. I would love to arrange that to arrive so that when they get to their room, that's there." And hotels are very good about doing this. You
Yeah.
just give them your credit card and they'll do it.
Yeah.
And so this is made like very large client for us, right? And so it may probably cost us a couple $100 to do this.
Yeah.
When we got the most lovely personal note
Mm.
back from the bride, thanking us for being so incredibly thoughtful. And when we got on to the next call with her, she said, "I just want to say again how incredible it was. Literally got to our room, saw the champagne and strawberries, thought it was from the hotel,
Yeah.
then figured it was from our family or our friends, then open up the card and see it's from you guys." And she's like, "I was blown away. One, that you remembered where we were going to be, but two, that you went to the effort of organizing this." And then she
Yeah.
said to us, "I didn't get anything from my company." And so, we've just made this a habit now that whenever we learn these sorts of special occasions, we make a point of sending something personal that relates. One time it was somebody was going away on mat leave and they were a big football fan, and we knew what her favorite team was, and they were going to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And so we got a little baby jersey for her favorite football team. And then we organized to get that sent to her office a couple of days before she went on mat leave as our sort of like, baby gift.
Well, it sounds like you guys do a superb job of that, and it's so much fun when people
It's
receive
fun.
them.
It's
Yeah,
fun.
it's fun,
It
right?
doesn't
Yeah.
take a lot of effort. It's in the grand scheme of things, it's not really that expensive to do. And the type of trust, the type of relationship that we're able to build by being that thoughtful. And people would say, I've gotten feedback before saying, "Well, doesn't that seem like mechanical if you're all doing it and you're all aware of it?" And I'm like, you know what? Nobody's ever received a gift from us and responded that way. They all know we're doing it on purpose, but
Yeah.
it takes a lot of it takes effort for us to do this. And yeah, we're listening, but isn't that how life works? When people you care about have big moments in their life, you want to do something special for them.
Yeah.
What's the difference?
Yeah. Yeah. Totally. That's really beautiful, actually. It's very cool.
So if that's appreciation, let's talk about leverage. So that's the last part of the real framework. And, you referenced it already, asking for introductions, creating collaborations with others, generating referrals, like asking for referrals from people that you trust. So tell me some of the ways that you've learned that by building this level of trust, you've been able to either support through yourself, through your own work, or through clients, help to create new opportunities.
Yeah, so that brings a question to my mind, actually,
Yeah.
because I had a conversation not long ago with, oh, I know who it was. It was a woman that was on my podcast. She's great. And her business is all about referrals. But she talks about and has written a book about I forget what it's called right this minute, but for Katie,
Yeah. Yeah.
Stacy Brown Randall is her name.
Okay.
And her book is all about the referral experience. And she believes that you don't ask for referrals, that you earn them. And there's so much to be said for that. And that basically is in the spiral of what we've been talking about. So if you do all these wonderful things to be remembered and you excel in the work that you do for the people that you're working for, then it's not going to be hard for them to refer you. And you stay top of mind throughout, because it's not necessary. Like people always say, well, when you finish the work, they're at a high and they're happy, ask for a referral, right? Maybe, but what if you stay connected for the next 6 to 9 months with whatever the different points are that you use? And that's what she talks about as well in the book. Then if you stay current and top of mind with them and something comes to mind, they know who to call. So I don't know. What do you think about that?
I love it. I mean, I think the book's generating business referrals. We'll drop a link in the show notes to the book. And I love that. I think the concept that the relationship is over when the sale is complete. I think particularly in transactional businesses, right? So say like you brought realtors, right? If you sell something, the transaction's done. And you're like, when is that person going to go buy another house? Probably not for a while, unless they're buying a cabin or a cottage.
I hate.
Yeah. And what my mom learned, because my mom was a realtor for 25 years, is she basically had entire dynasties,
Yes.
like she had entire families that she was the realtor for. So she worked with the parents,
Yeah.
and then the kids got their first homes, and then the kids needed to get upgraded because they started having grandchildren. And the parents downsized.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then she sold that house, and then the parents' friends decided to downsize. So then she sold that house, which got her into a new family. And that was her entire strategy, was basically just to support families in their intergenerational home buying, selling. And then it was a cottage or a cabin was next.
But if she hadn't stayed in touch with them,
Yeah.
they would have gone somewhere else.
No. And she'd send calendars, she'd send baked goods over. She would just call and see how they were enjoying the house. She would send them a card on their anniversary. And so, it was very simple things. But I think, one of the things to remember is that if you're in transactional sales and you close the deal, the relationship's not over. It's just beginning. Mm-hmm. It's really still at the beginning. And if you're in a relationship sale business where you're selling a service, and that service takes a long time to deliver, it's a year or something. If it's consulting or something, then you're going to be in relationship at least for a year with that client.
It reminded me of 2 stories. One real fast guy I know bought 3 homes over 15 years, as his family grew, got different realtor every time because they disappeared. Right. And the other one is the opposite. This woman, she was a realtor, and I'm saying this for a reason because, okay, so she went to a community event. It was like a Chamber of Commerce event, and they were doing the foods of the world. And she went to this booth, and this restaurateur had all this food. She took a picture, put the picture on a card, sent him a card. 2 weeks later, he called and he said, "You're a realtor, aren't you?" Because of course on the back of the card it said so. And she said, "Yes." He said, "I'd love to meet you. Thank you for the card. I'd love to meet you. We're thinking of selling our house." And that, like your mom, turned into a family dynasty thing. And what was I going to say? That it isn't really just transactional in that biggest thing you'll ever purchase type of thing. You've got to trust the person. You've got to build a relationship with the person, I think. Don't you?
I agree. I agree. How I'd love to wrap up this episode is, let's each share one cool kind of relationship building thing that we do that maybe isn't like obvious that we've learned along the way that's been something that's been pretty high leverage for us. And mine is when I go to a networking event, my goal is to only meet 5 new people.
Oh, that's too funny because I was going to do the same. That's so funny. I should have gone first. It's okay. Go ahead. Let's hear yours.
So my goal is I'm only going to meet 5 new people whose energy matches mine, and then I'm leaving.
Okay.
So I get in and I get out and I meet those 5 people who are smiling, who've got good energy, who I just feel like that person's interesting. They got great charisma. They got great energy in the room. I'm going to go meet those 5 people. I'm going to find out who they are, ask great questions about their life, tell them about mine a little bit. We might talk about work, we might not, and then I'm going home.
But how do you just remember who they are, or have you exchanged cards or anything like that?
I mean, sometimes I will just hold, because now if you've got an iPhone, you can just hold your phone up to the person's phone and it'll swap cards. I'll bring 5 business cards. So I know when I'm out of 5, then I just get to go home. So I don't have to stay the whole thing. Or I'll add the person, I'll say to them, oh, why don't I'll just add you on LinkedIn right now. That's easy. And then I'll just go add them. And then I'll say, I'll flip you a note tomorrow. And then that's it. So I do one of those 3 things, whatever in the moment feels like the most sort of like natural part of the conversation.
Got it. So that's funny because I was thinking about and I haven't been to a in-person networking event for a while, but my strategy is that I'm going to meet 5 people, but those 5 people are the person that organized the event because they know everybody.
Right.
The person that usually the person that's doing the registration because they can point me to people. The speaker. There's a speaker and 2 people that any of those other 3 could help me with who are hubs who know a lot of people. Okay.
Love it.
And basically, I don't really care if I tell them anything about what I do. It will come up in conversation or not. But I'm asking questions. I'm finding out whether I think I want to follow up with them. And that would be the next piece is to follow up with them.
I love that. What a great way to end. Janice, thanks so much for making time to be on the podcast today.
It was my pleasure. Sorry about some of the issues I
No, it's all worked great. It all worked great.
All right. Thank you so much.